Welcome to the Beyond Sugar Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Danielle Dame, holistic nutrition coach and speaker. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode here on the Beyond Sugar Freedom podcast. So excited to be tuning into another episode. And today, with the timing of this week being Valentine's Day, that this episode is being released, we are having a conversation, a deep dive conversation around the connection between sugar and love. Oh, love, 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 right? We can't talk about sugar and not talk about how it has so been ingrained in everything we do in relation to love. So that is the conversation we're going to be having today. I'm going to be sharing some really powerful questions that I want you to be starting to ask yourself and really starting to pay attention to where this is showing up in your life. Because after all, awareness is step number one. And from there, we can start to make shifts. And I will be sharing at the end of today's episode some actual tips and tools that you can start doing to start breaking these connections between sugar and love in your life and really helping you build a deeper understanding and deeper connection, not only with yourself, but with loved ones around you. So this is obviously a conversation that extends far out and beyond this one podcast. But I hope that you take some tidbits away from today and everything that I'm about to share with you and really do the work on your own. I mean, after all, you can soak in all the information and listen to all the podcasts that you want, but until you actually sit down with these questions that I share with you, apply the tools that I share with you, nothing in your life is ever going to shift. So little tough love to start off with right there. Any of you out there who are just absorbing information left, right, and center, the real transformation happens when you apply and actually do the work. So that's the exciting conversation we're going to be having today. But before we dive into that, a little weekly update for all of you. First of all, huge thank you for everyone who supported this podcast so far. I cannot believe launch week is over. We're officially into the regular scheduled programming with the podcast now, and it feels so exciting to be starting to have these really powerful conversations with all of you every week. So huge thank you to everyone who participated last week. And if you haven't yet gone back and watched or listened or watched, you can watch over on YouTube to the beginning few episodes. Definitely do that now so you get a good idea of what we're going to be doing on this podcast and what I'm all about and who is Danny and all of those good juicy bits that I shared in the first 5 episodes. So definitely go and listen to those if you haven't already. And as you know by now, we start every episode with a weekly insight. So the biggest insight that I have to share with you right now is around your body's resiliency. So for those who follow me on social media, you'll know by now that I have COVID. And well, at the time of recording this, I did. By the time this airs, I am absolutely going to have kicked it and it will no longer be in my system. But it has been my time. 2 years later, with everything going on, was starting to feel a little bit left out of the club because everybody I knew was getting COVID and I do not have COVID. So I finally did get it last week and just started noticing some symptoms on Monday and Tuesday. I finally took a test and just knew in my heart that, yep, this was my time. And thank goodness, I was able to really hit hard on Tuesday with all of the natural healing protocols that work. These are a lot of things that I'm not allowed to talk about, which is a really sad world that we live in right now with censorship. These are things that I am not sharing detailed about on social media because a lot of friends of mine who have been deplatformed. And this is just a really important message as well for anybody who's not aware of what's going on. Our freedom of speech is not so free anymore. And, one of the reasons I wanted to start this podcast. So all that being said, I have been using some serious and very powerful, very cheap and natural protocols that on Tuesday I started hitting it with all the supplements, with nebulizing, with nasal rinsing, doing a couple other things as well. Obviously the sauna, hot bath, I'm eating raw garlic. I'm doing a lot of really, really detailed things. It's actually like a full-time job at the time of this, but Wednesday morning I woke up feeling brand new. So Monday and Tuesday I had a little bit of a fever and headache and I was tired, stuffed up. And Wednesday morning, bam, I was 80% better. It was just incredible. And I want to share that with all of you because this is such proof of our body's resiliency. And why you're listening to this podcast is how much power we do have over our health when we choose to look after our bodies, when we actually nourish it with whole, real, nourishing foods. We sleep well, we hydrate, we move our bodies, we get rid of toxic people and things in our lives. A lot of these things that really affect how we feel and how we do or do not develop disease in the long run. So really, really, that's what I want to hit home today is the reminder that your body is so crazy resilient and able to heal itself when you look after it. Now, I know that might be triggering some of you listening to this because I know there have been people that passed away from COVID. I know that this has been a crazy last 2 years. I'm not denying that, but I am mentioning that there is without a doubt the information and knowledge that those who are struggling with any disease have not looked after themselves or have definitely been predisposed or have, already have maybe been born with chronic diseases or ailments or things that make them more susceptible to catching things, right? So there's obviously more sides to that story. But in general, when we're not healthy and we have comorbidities, we're going to get sick, right? So when we can do what we can do, right? And we have so much power over that from any age, making these changes to really rebalance our body, bring down inflammation, boost our immune system, like all of these things. Get off sugar, number one, get off seed oils, number two, right? All these things that we can do, just it's such proof of how resilient our body can be when we do get it back into balance if we're able to, right? And I know a lot of immune diseases. And I know there are a lot of people out there really struggling and suffering, which my heart obviously always goes out to that. It's definitely not a black and white situation that we're in, but in my experience and what I'm going through, I just wanted to share, that there's always alternative ways to actually support our body to get into an environment where it can heal itself. And that's what I'm doing right now. And I've been doing 2 days of protocols by the time that I'm recording this, and I feel great. I sound a little bit stuffed up, but that's all. And I've got my energy back. I feel good. I feel normal. And it's pretty amazing. I'm just so grateful and proud of how resilient my body is because I've spent so many years looking after it and really prioritizing my health. And, this is a reminder for all of you. Hopefully you're listening to this podcast because that's something that you want to start doing or something that you want to continue doing. So there's your reminder today, your beautiful weekly insight. You are powerful. Your body is resilient. Your body is capable of healing itself under the right environment. And don't let anybody tell you anything else. Okay. So that's my rant for today. Obviously, that's a huge conversation for another day. Please reach out if you have any questions around that and what I'm doing. I would be happy to share, just send me an email, share more details with you. If you want to know what I'm doing, that's working, which is awesome. So that's the update. Now let's dive into today's episode. Okay. And I know that today, as I mentioned earlier, this week is Valentine's. And it's actually a funny story about that because I don't celebrate Valentine's Day. Not at all. There's just too many things that I know about it that I do not agree with personally. I totally love and respect everybody who loves Valentine's Day and who embraces it. That's fantastic. For me, it's just never sat right as somebody, some sort of forced day to really focus on love, where I believe love should be something we pour out of our hearts every single day as much as we can, especially with those that we love, making sure they feel loved throughout the year, not just one day a year. And also the commercialization and the sugar industry having grabbed its hold of Valentine's Day is really something that I just don't support and I can't get on board with. So for those reasons, we don't do Valentine's Day in my house. I can't remember the last time I have. And Yeah, we definitely celebrate our love on a weekly, if not daily basis in different ways that feel more real and connected. And this is why I want to have this conversation with all of you today, because when we go outside of ourselves to things like sugar or people, right, to give us love, we ultimately have given all of our power away. And we're actually getting what I'll call superficial love, right? It's not real love. Sugar doesn't actually give you love, even though it feels like it in the exchange of the sugar. It's not real love. And I'm going to share more about that today in this conversation, because I think this is such an important place for all of us to understand. And when we start diving in, which we're doing now, these root causes around sugar addiction are really at the root for most of us. It's this love, right? This lack of love for ourselves, this lack of feeling loved, of feeling worthy of love. Like there is a huge love component here that we need to look at and start working on if we want to actually have a healthy relationship with food, with sugar, with ourselves, with other people, with our partners, our spouses, our friends. We have to really start looking at this piece in ours. So today, I just want to plant some seeds for all of you. This is a conversation we're going to be having a lot of. This self-love and just love conversation in general is a big topic, and something that, like I said, we'll definitely be having more in-depth conversations. And today I just want to get the ball rolling for all of you. So to do that, I have a couple questions for you. So wherever you're listening to this, I encourage you, if you can, just to pause after I ask these questions and sit with them for a second. Sit with them in your body. Close your eyes if you can. Really just go inward and see what comes up for you. Now, if you're driving or operating heavy machinery, please do not do this. Do that later. Write these down and come back to these later. So, how do you show love? How do you show love to others? And I want you to just take stock of your day-to-day, maybe this last year. How are you showing love to those in your life who you love? And how are you showing love to yourself? How are you showing love on a daily basis, a weekly basis, monthly basis to yourself? What practices do you have? What tools do you use? And how do you receive love from others? How is love being shared back and reflected back to you from others? So these are just a couple questions, and I encourage you to write those down and pause now if you're somewhere you can do that and really sit with these. Because odds are when we start asking these questions about how are we receiving love? How are we giving love? Odds are you had at least one thought of sugar come into your mind, right? Giving someone's chocolates, baking someone some cookies when they're sad, right? Bringing someone a gift of, your baking or food, right? To make them feel better, to tell them how grateful you are for something they did for you. Maybe you bring them a bottle of wine, right? That's sugar. There's food and sugar involved. I'm willing to bet that at least one of your examples that came to mind had something to do with sugar. And this is not something that you are alone in. This is something that we have been taught our whole lives, literally right from the moment that we breastfeed and taste the sweetness of our mother's milk, right? That sweet taste begins to be equated with love, right? Our mother's love and connection and comfort, right? And then we grow up, right? We get into environments where we spend Sundays baking with mom, right? Or going out for ice cream with dad, right? Like these moments that feel so loving, and we feel connected with our caregivers and our parents, and we just feel the love oozing out of these experiences that have been intertwined with sugar. Right? I know so many of my clients have this pattern to break, myself included, around baking, right? Around baking meaning love, right? And eating the baking and what you baked, meaning giving love to yourself. We get it shown to us in every single movie, every single advertisement. Everywhere you go, we're getting bombarded with the message, either consciously or subconsciously, that sugar equals love. This is the message. Sugar is how you share love. Sugar is how you receive love. Sugar is how you give love to yourself. And these are the patterns that we've been reinforcing, these neural pathways that we've been reinforcing pretty much our whole lives because it's what everybody else does. It's what society does. It's what Valentine's Day tells us to do. How many times have you seen someone or maybe yourself been in an experience where Valentine's Day comes around and your boyfriend or husband doesn't buy you chocolates and you feel unloved? You feel angry. Maybe you get triggered and you get upset. Maybe you yell at him. Why didn't you buy me chocolates? It's Valentine's Day. Do you not love me? What are the instances that you can remember in your own life, whether it was through your own felt experience or through, witnessing other people in your life having these reactions where someone didn't show up with sugar at your house and you get triggered because that connection is so strong between sugar and love. And look at birthdays as well. We have to look at birthdays, every holiday, actually. It's such an opportunity to show the people that you love them, right? On their birthday. So what do? First thing you want to know is what kind of cake they want. What do you want to eat for dinner? What kind of dessert do you want? I want it to feel special. I want you to know I love you, right? I'm going to come over with all these treats on your birthday just to show you how much I love you. This is the absolute number one socially acceptable way to share and show love. And it needs to stop. I'm calling that out right now. It needs to stop. It is killing us. This constant connection, because love is a basic human need. Unconditional love. And we're going to talk about this. Okay. And when we try to get that from outside of ourselves with something that is toxic for our body in high amounts, we're going to continue staying unhealthy and sick and gaining weight and developing disease and weakening our immune systems and getting sick, right? We're going to keep having those things happen if we don't repattern these pathways and ultimately the way our society shows up. And we have to do this start on an individual level. Okay, obviously changing the way our society relates to sugar. And this is a global issue, by the way. I have traveled extensively in many countries, and everybody shows love. And it is wrong. It is not real love. Somebody giving you cookies is not real love. The love in that is that they thought of you and they wanted to support you. That's what's below the cookies, right? And I invite you to start questioning what is below these acts of giving and receiving sugar. That's the real love here. Because love has nothing to do with food or objects or sugar. Love is a really, really deep sense of joy and connection and togetherness within yourself or with another person. It's a deep-rooted feeling and sensation and heart opening. It's not a taste. And we have to start disconnecting those two pieces or we're going to stay in this sugar roller coaster for the rest of our lives. And this is why this conversation around sugar is so vital if you want to actually break free from sugar and live a healthy life. So I'm grateful that you're listening to this and what perfect timing with Valentine's Day. So please know that if you boycott Valentine's Day, it doesn't mean you can't show love. It doesn't mean you can't still feel love. And when I'm talking about love here, okay, we have to talk about this because there's different sort of, I don't want to use the word levels, but we're going to use the word levels of love, right? A lot of us throw around the word love, right? I love you, I love you, I love you, but our actions don't actually follow through with that. So when I'm talking about love, and this is the goal for all of us, is get to this place with unconditional love. Okay, and this is important, okay? Unconditional with ourselves and unconditional with other people. Okay, so most of us have actually spent our whole lives being completely deprived of real unconditional love. And what I mean by this, unconditional love is I'll love you if you're a good girl, if you get good grades at school, if you go and buy groceries, or if you cook me dinner, then I'll love you, right? Or I'll only love you if you behave a certain way. If you're kind and you always are smiling and you're never angry, then I'll love you. Unconditional means that the love has no conditions and that you can show up as a complete mess and basket case and be having a horrible day and you still love yourself and the other people in your life still love you. This is next level, by the way, everybody. This is way easier to explain than it is to actually enact in your own life. And it's been a quest that I've personally been on for the last 5 years. And it's been so beautiful to open up to new relationships in my life and actually experience for the first time in my life unconditional love from friendships. When I can show up as a mess and they don't go anywhere. And they know that I am who I am, and they're there to support me through whatever I'm going through instead of ghosting me or disappearing. Most of us have been hurt that way before, especially by other women. As soon as we do something wrong or hurt someone else's feelings, we're no longer friends, right? That's not unconditional love. Unconditional love is meaning I see you, I see your soul, I know you're kind, and I love you no matter what you do. And this is, yes, this brings in bigger conversations, and we're not going to go there today, right? Like what if I start breaking the law or, hurting people or doing things like that, right? But ultimately, yeah, you can still love somebody who does those things because that love is seeing them beyond their behaviors and beyond, the patterns and the choices that they're making. And this is for both yourself and your view and love for other people. And it is such a beautiful and freeing place to get to, because ultimately, when you truly can get to a place of unconditionally loving yourself, which means having a binge on sugar and waking up the next morning talking kindly to yourself, which means, right, having a really, really bad day or messing up at work and still being kind to yourself. These are the ways and the most difficult times when this love shows up, right? And this is where we get to practice that unconditional love. It's easy to love ourselves when everything is going great. It's so easy, right? It's easy to love your husband and your friends and yourself when everything's going great. Everybody's doing what they said they're going to be doing. But as soon as somebody tells a lie or somebody doesn't show up on time or you let yourself down by eating something that doesn't feel good, those are the moments where the real test starts. Can you love yourself and the other people in those moments? When you do, learn. This is, by the way, this is no Band-Aid, no quick fixes here, no Band-Aid approach here. This is real lifetime work. I am still working on learning to love myself in this way. It is an ongoing journey, and I've come so far, and it is so freeing to do this work. And we will definitely have more episodes on how to cultivate this, going forward. But when you get to this place where you truly love who you are and you know who you are and you love yourself unconditionally, it is effortless to make healthy choices. And this is where, like, very quickly on in my practice and working with clients, I noticed how love and self-love especially was at the root of these patterns, behaviors around sugar. Number one, because most of us have been conditioned to love ourselves with sugar. So, I'm going to treat myself, right? How many times have you said that? I'm going to treat myself to something special, and I'm going to go out and, buy something sweet and sugary, right? That's trying to give yourself love. Right? So we do this on an almost daily basis. Like, I'm trying to love myself by having a piece of cake after dinner, right? Like, we're trying to fill up our love cup, and we just have never been given the tools to do it in an actual healthy way. So how do we start doing this? How do we start unraveling this deep rooted connection that we have between sugar and love? Okay. And step one is to ask yourself some of those questions that I already started asking you. Really start understanding, like, where is this showing up in your life? How am I using sugar to give love? How am I using it to receive love? And I found it personally really, really helpful to learn my love language. So if anybody's never heard of the 5 love languages, I forget the author's name is escaping me. This brilliant man who wrote this book. You can go and take your like test online. Just look up the love languages and it'll pop right up. And he kind of describes these 5 love languages, and I think there's probably more than 5, but we'll just go with it for now. I think there's some that are missing. But it's a really great place to start and a fantastic conversation opener with friends and people that you love as well. So how this works is go in and do the quiz, figure out like what is your love language? How do you like to receive love? So this is a really important nuance to understand. There's a difference between how you receive love and how you like to show love to other people. Okay, so this is one of the things that I think is missing in the love language conversation, because it really is about how you receive love, but it's also really important to know how you give love. Like for instance, my number one way that I love to show love is quality time, is to show up for people, is to like to be there for them, to come over and cook them a meal, to just do what they need help with. So that personal time with them is my way of showing love. I have some friends of mine who are just amazing gift givers. Their number one way is gifts. They're always like giving me gifts, and I don't know what to do with them because that's not my love language. So it's really fascinating to start to understand what actually connects with you. So the love languages really quickly are words of affirmation, physical touch, gifts, quality time, and acts of service. And obviously you can go look into more details about those and find your type. Mine is definitely number 1, physical touch. Number 2, quality time. Very close tie between the two. So knowing those two, now I can start to really connect with how can I give myself love? How can I give myself the gift of more physical touch? Can I go for massages? Can I have more hot baths? Can I, buy really soft scarves that feel good against my skin? Quality time. How can I spend more quality time with myself? What is quality time, right? And how can I do that with me? So this isn't just for in relationship with other people. I encourage you to also use this in relationship with yourself. So number 1 is like learning that love language, knowing what those are for you. And here's where the magic starts to happen, especially in relation with other people who might be coming over and bringing you cookies to show you love, right? Because that's what we do. You can start to communicate your love language and how you feel most loved to those around you. This is so important. This type of communication is life-changing because so often people have no idea how to show you they care about you because you've never told them. So if you can tell somebody like, hey, how I feel most loved is acts of service. I have one of my best girlfriends that this is a conversation we had, and she said, you know what? It's acts of service for me. So now whenever I want to show up and make her feel special, I know that I'm going to go over and help her in her garden, or I'm going to bring her food when she's sick, or I'm going to come over and help her hang a painting that she's having trouble hanging. So that is now how I know I can show up for her, and I know that that makes her feel loved. So I don't need to bring her food. I don't need to bring her cookies. Like that's how I get to show up for her because I know what her love language is. So when you get to start to actually have these conversations with your friends, with your loved ones, it opens up such a beautiful dialogue for understanding each other at a different level. And when we talk about giving and receiving love, like this is so powerful because we can take away the food out of it, right? We don't need that anymore. We can say, you know what? I just want you to be with me. I don't want you to bring anything. And this is mine. This is what I've communicated to all my friends and loved ones. I don't want anything. I actually don't like gifts. I usually just don't want more things in my house. Don't buy me gifts. Just come over and hang out. Like, let's go for a walk. Let's just have a good chat. Let's hang out together. That for me fills my cup so much. I could care less about gifts or them doing something for me. That's just not my love language. So when we can start to connect with this, I hope you can see how powerful this is, but it has to be communicated. We have to communicate this to people and actually set those boundaries. Okay, so here's the tricky part, right? This is where conversations around boundaries need to come in because Say your dad, I'm thinking of a client of mine who had this challenge in the last program that I hosted. It was her birthday. So her dad would not leave her alone about what kind of cake he could bring over for her birthday. And she had to really get clear and set that boundary. You know what, Dad? Like, actually, how I want to celebrate my birthday with you is just for you to come over and for us to go. I think they went to on some trip on some adventure together or something, some sort of fun thing to do together. And that was, really hard for her dad to wrap his head around, because his whole life he's been taught that you bring cake when it's someone's birthday, because that's how you show love. So it will take some time and repetition with these people in your life to let them know, like, I'm no longer accepting sugar as a form of love or gift. And even just setting that boundary, I no longer accept sugar in my house, right, is so powerful, because then people are like, well, now what do I do? So this is where it's important to give people in your life some suggestions. So obviously you have to start with yourself, get clear on like what are some ways that you feel loved so you can share those with others. One of the ways that I really feel loved is if you bring me flowers. I know that's kind of a gift, but that's a good one. Or if you give me a 10-minute massage, or if you suggest we go for a walk together and we spend some time just talking and walking. So when you take away somebody's crutch or way for them to show you love, you have to replace that with, here are some other ways, right? Here's ways that I actually do get love, so that they can, oh, okay, now I can do these things instead of, feeling kind of naked without sugar. How am I supposed to show you love, right? And then they're going to just keep trying to push sugar on you because they don't know any other way. So you have to step up and communicate for yourself. Here are the other ways that you can show me love. Give me a good hug, right? Take me on an adventure, spend time with me, come and help me in the garden, cook me a healthy meal. Right? Like, what are the other options for those people? So that communication is really, really important and eye-opening, and also asking them, right? This is such a beautiful, eye-opening back and forth conversation, asking them, what is your love language, so that you can show up for them in that way too. So when you start doing this more, you can see how quickly you can take the sugar out of this transaction of love and actually start giving and receiving love in ways that fuel you and feel like real love. Okay, so really powerful stuff, right? So the next thing that you can do, and all of these are obviously tied in, and these are just some beginner pieces for you to take away and start implementing this week. And even right now, actually, if you did celebrate Valentine's Day, thinking about how you celebrated it, right? Taking a minute to reflect, not with guilt, okay? No, with curiosity. Right? Being curious about, oh yeah, we did exchange chocolates yesterday, right? Or we did get sucked into having to buy things to show each other love, when actually neither of us really like gifts, right? So you start having this moment of reflect, why are we doing this if we don't even like gifts? I hate buying gifts. I hate getting gifts. Why am I doing this, right? So just reflect with curiosity and start making these shifts going forward and having these conversations with the people in your life that you need and with yourself. Okay, obviously this starts with you, and getting clear on how you feel most loved is really, really important, because we need love. It is a vital human nutrient. I often call it the missing vitamin. Vitamin L is love, and we do need it on a daily basis. And contrary to popular belief, you do not need it from other people. You can give yourself love. You can fill your own love cup up. Yes, you're welcome. Obviously, it's wonderful to get love from other people, but you have to also be prioritizing giving it to yourself. So when you know how to do that, and you start making your list of how do I feel most loved, there's a question for you to write down and take away from this podcast. How do I feel most loved? Is it when I take a day off work? Is it when I treat myself to a hot bath? Is it when I buy a new book, or go to bed early, right? Or go on an adventure, or, try a new hike that I've never done before, or meet up with a friend and have really good, nourishing conversations. Like, what are the things in your life that make you feel that sense of deep connection and love for yourself, right? And I have to say this as well. Many of you listening may have no idea what that is or what that even feels like. And that's okay. That is more than okay. We're going to be having lots of conversations about how disconnected we've all become from our emotional bodies. We're going to be diving into that in the next coming weeks. So this is very normal. So if you're noticing like, I don't really feel love towards myself or I don't love myself, this is a truth that most of us do have to come to. And when we notice that, it's okay. Like just feel into that space and know that it is so okay. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. This is completely normal with how we've been raised and our society and this disconnection from our emotions. So just start being inquisitive, be curious, be compassionate with yourself as you start asking, how do I feel loved? And how can I show myself love on a daily basis? This is my favorite question. To start your day with this question. How can I love myself today? Or how will I show up and show love to myself today? So really, 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 really powerful. Okay. And like I said, just start diving into, if you haven't already, a conversation with yourself about self-love, right? Do I love myself? Coming to terms with the fact that most of us don't unconditionally love ourselves. Starting to notice, where are the conditions in the love for myself? I'll love myself when I eat healthy. I'll love myself when my body looks a certain way. Where are these things showing up for you? What conditions do you have on your own self-love? Really, really eye-opening to write those down, really start spending some time getting clear on what's showing up there. And then commit to this journey of getting to know yourself and diving inward to connecting with this love for yourself. I'm going to be doing many more episodes specifically around, cultivating this journey to self-love. I'll be bringing in some guests and having some more conversations around that. But for today, just planting the seed for you to know that this is a root cause. This is 100% our lack of love for ourselves, an ability to show and receive love without sugar is 100% one of the biggest root causes of our patterns and behaviors around sugar and food. Period. So when you understand that, you can start to bring the awareness out of where this is showing up in your life and start doing something about it. So that's the last tip that I want to share with you here, is really start paying attention to where sugar is playing a role in your love life with yourself, with other people. Okay, where is that showing up for you? Is it in how you bring baked goods to friends? Is it how you bake with yourself on Sundays just to spend loving quality time with yourself, right? How else can you spend quality time with yourself? We can start redirecting these, but we have to start knowing where it's showing up first, right? We have to identify the problem or the challenge first, and then we can start going in and saying, okay, how else can I do these things, right? How can I rewire this? How can I build a new neural pathway in this way that takes me out of using food and sugar to show and receive love? So you can stop doing it, right? I give you full permission from this day forward to boldly stop using sugar to give and receive love, and make this a new commitment and boundary to yourself. And communicate it with those around you who are confused, rightfully so. Why are you no longer accepting my cookies, right? Or why are you no longer bringing me baked goods when you come to visit, right? Communicating with people like, I'm learning that I've been showing love with sugar and I no longer want to be doing that. So here's what I'm going to be doing instead, right? Have that beautiful conversation. And I guarantee you will not only build deeper relationships with those people that you have that conversation with, but you're both going to be able to get such a deeper level of love and showing up for each other that it's going to be absolutely beautiful. So that's what I wanted to share with all of you today around love. I hope that you got some really good moments from that. Would love to hear your biggest takeaways, pun intended, the word love. Come and message me on Instagram, send me an email. Would love to hear your takeaway from this episode. This is such a big conversation, and I'm so excited to hear how these realizations and these awarenesses really start to shift this way that you show up with sugar and changing the meaning of love, really. I mean, it's been so muddled with sugar, right? From the food industry and marketing and movies and from childhood and all these areas we've been bombarded with this pathway of sugar equals love. And this is a belief that you can change. We're going to talk about beliefs in the next couple weeks. And this is a neural pathway that you can change, but you have to be intentional with it and you have to be committed to changing it. And I hope that you are. I hope that you're fired up, and ready to start looking at this in your own life, even if it's difficult. Okay. So get your journal out, spend some time with these questions that I've posed in this podcast, and then come and let me know what you think. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here for another episode, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. If you're loving what we talked about today, please remember to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone you love. And if you're ready to dive deeper into discovering your root causes and patterns that are keeping you hooked on sugar, be sure to check out our brand new free workshop series that will help you kick emotional eating for good. Find the link to download this free series and other amazing resources in the show notes below.